So we're going to talk about Chanukah a little bit. It's part of his Chassidus because one of the Rebbe's many most important mitzvahs is mitzvah Chanukah, and we'll try to get to this also. Since this is seminary Beis and you're all big Talmidois, Chachomois, God forbid I should say something simple and unschooled. So I'll share with you an idea that the Rebbe talks about that's very important. Uba Hakdama, I'll give you a little bit of a background. There's an organization which now calls itself Teiras Menachem. When I was growing up, they called themselves Vad Anochas Balahak. For many, many years, the Rebbe Sichos were only in Yiddish, and Israelis, believe it or not, had a hard time with the Yiddish. So finally, in the early 1980s, they actually sent somebody from Israel to America to write Hanochas and Lashon HaKodesh. And since Gimel Tammuz, they have redone the Rebbe Sichos from the beginning. They've printed by now, I think, 76 or 77 volumes. And they're holding 1974-75, Lamed Dal, Lamed Hey. This organization gives out a Sicha every Shabbos. Every Shabbos they give out in all the shuls a beige kuntris, which has the Sichos that they're working on currently. I used to be a rabbi of a shul, which stole from me my whole Shabbos. But I got fired, or I fired my shul, or my shul was fired up. I don't have my shul anymore, so I believe that I try to learn every week the Sicha. To me, a Sicha comes out, you got to learn it. When I was a kid growing up, the Sicha came out every Friday. You didn't go home until you finished the Sicha. Now they give out a new Sicha every week. It's obviously not new. It's a Chiddush HaYeshonis. It's a renewal. And it sits on the tables. So this past week, the Sichas that they printed for this year, 1975, Tafshan Lamed Hey. It is Kislev. The Fabrengen, I'm just reading the Hanochas, like the Fabrengen must have been an atom bomb. There's so much. One of the things the Rebbe talked about, that Fabrengen a lot, was Miftzah Neshek, Neder Shabbos Kiddush V'Yom Tov, Shabbos candles. Because the Rebbe started Miftzah Neshek in the summer, right before Rosh Hashanah, Lamed Al to Lamed Hey, Mamish a little while earlier. And when the Rebbe introduced Miftzah Neshek, there was a lot of pushback. A lot of people were against it. Some people were against the whole idea of children lighting candles. Some people were against single people lighting candles. And some people didn't mind the girls lighting candles, but they had a very big issue with the girls making a brach. And the Rebbe defended his mitzvah. B'chlal, anytime the Rebbe made a mitzvah, he felt it was his obligation to defend it. And the Rebbe defended Miftzah Neshek for months. Very powerfully. Yitzchak Kislev is a weekday Fabrengen. There's a tape of it. I actually heard the Fabrengen. So you can hear the Rebbe's emotion, the Rebbe's dedication. The Rebbe came up with an idea, the Rebbe has the obligation to defend it. So in the course of this Fabrengen, the Rebbe defended Miftzah Neshek, and one of the ideas that he mentioned is, I mean, you guys don't know this, but when I was a kid growing up, this was a very important Lubavitch Nigan. I don't know why they stopped singing it, but it says in Medrash that if people are careful to light Shabbos candles, they'll be zeicher to see the candles of the Beis HaMikdash. Im atem mishamrim neides Shabbos, erolachem neides tziyin. It's a Yalkut Shemayim, it's a Medrash. It became a song, but it became a song after the Rebbe discussed it. So the Rebbe connected Shabbos candles to the Beis HaMikdash. Once he connected to the Beis HaMikdash, boom, the next step was Chanukah. So the Rebbe already had a Chanukah connection. And when the Rebbe made the Chanukah connection, he brought up a very important idea. A very important idea, which I think is actually quite deep. In other words, there's more to it than meets the eye. And it's really, really worth for us to have a shtickle fabreng. It's the second to the third night of Chanukah. This is officially a skashus. I'm going to talk I don't know how long this is going to take me. I'm going to share this with you. In the Kriyas HaTeirah of Chanukah, right? The Kriyas HaTeirah of Chanukah is Pashas Baloischa. The first day, I don't know if you guys go to shul during the week, if you listen to Kriyas HaTeirah, but the first day you read, Vahi b'yem kaleis meishal hakim es hamishkan. It's a longer Kriyas HaTeirah. You read how the Beis Mikdash was put up. All the Nesiim got together and they gave gifts to the Beis HaMikdash. One of them, first gift was 12 oxen and 6 wagons. They brought karbanos every day. The first day was Nachshon ben Aminadav, that was yesterday's Kriyas HaTeirah. The second day was Nisanel ben Tzur, that was today's Kriyas HaTeirah. Every day you have to read two parshas because there's not enough psukim in one. If you want to have 3 aliyahs is a minimum of 9 or 10 psukim, so you read B'yem HaSheni, B'yem HaShlishi. Tomorrow we're going to read B'yem HaShlishi, B'yem HaRavi, and so on. The last day of Chanukah we're going to read from B'yem HaShmini whichever Nasi brought his korban, and then you're going to read all the way through. You're going to read Be'em Hashmini, Be'em Hatshi, Be'em Asir, Be'em Ashma Shteimas, Zeis Chanukah HaMizbeach, and you're even going to read Vahi Ba'alei Chasaneres. Right? On Zeis Chanukah, the Kriyas HaTorah, the Zeis Chanukah is next Monday, is going to be very, very long. You're going to start off with Bayem Hashmini, Nasi Livnei Menashe, Gamliel Ben Pedatzor, Karbanoi, and then you're going to read a small first aliyah, a small second aliyah, and a massive third aliyah. You're going to read the 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th day of the Nesiim. You're going to read what's called the Sach HaKoil, the summary of all the gifts of the Nesiim. And you're going to read you're going to finish with the words Kain Asas Hamanera. That's going to be the Kriya of Zeis Chanukah. Now, there's reasons why, right? Obviously, Chanukah is Chanukah. Chanukah means renewal. The Beis Mikdash was renewed. The Nesiim brought karbonis LaChanukah HaMizbeach. The Nesiim brought karbonis to inaugurate the Beis HaMikdash. So literally 1,200 years later, in the middle of the time of the second Beis HaMikdash, the Beis HaMikdash was desecrated, it was violated, it was contaminated, it was defiled. They cleaned it up. They were mechanech. They renewed the Beis HaMikdash. So on Chanukah we read the parsha in the Chumash which speaks about Chanukah. In the Chumash, Chanukah's Beis HaMikdash is in Parshas Naseh. So Chanukah, we read the end of Parshas Naseh. It's a long kriya, right? You divide it up into 8 days. The first day is long, the next 6 days are short, the 8th day is very long. But you read the whole parsha of Chanukah in the Chumash that reminisces about the Chanukah Samishkan on Chanukah. But why do you mention Baalei Chasaneres? The 8th day of Chanukah is called Zeis Chanukah because you read the last 5 Nesiim and Zeis Chanukah Sambeach, the Sachakal. But why do you read the first 5 psukim or 4 psukim of Parshas Baalei? And there's a very important answer to that question. Because Parshas Baalei speaks about Aaron HaKohen. And we all know the story. That the Midrashim say, Rashi brings it in Chumash, that the Nesiim got together and they decided to donate to be Mechanech the Beis HaMikdash, and they forgot to include Levi. Now, the word forget is an overstatement. Didn't forget. They forgot on purpose. They disremembered, They didn't include Levi. There were 12 Shvatim because they counted Menashe and Ephraim separate, but they didn't include Levi, and Aaron was the Nasi of the whole Shevet Levi, Kohanim and Leviim. So Rashi says Aaron was very upset. Why was he not zoichet to be mishtatev in the Chanukah of the Beis HaMikdash? All the 12 Nesiim were zoichet to participate in inaugurating the Beis HaMikdash with special karbonis and so on and so forth, and Shevet Levi was disincluded. So the Eibishter says to Moshe, tell Aaron, don't feel bad. You're going to light up the candles of the menorah. What the Leviim do in lighting up the menorah is greater than all the karbonos that the Nesiim brought on the 8th day, 8 days. So it makes complete sense that when you read Kriyas HaTorah on Chanukah, you would read the beginning of Parashat Baalei. Why? Who fought against the Yevonim? Who fought against the Syrian Greeks? The Maccabeim, the Chashmonaim. They were Kohanim. You have to remember, one of the great miracles of Chanukah is you had a group of people who never picked up a sword in their life except a shecht. They were not soldiers, they were priests, they were men of God, fighting the greatest army in the world, and they won. You read the beginning of Parshas Baalei because it's about the Chashmonaim. So you read every day of Chanukah, the Chanukah of the Beis HaMikdash, because there's a parallel between Chanukah Samishkan and the Chanukah's Beis HaMikdash in the story of Chanukah. But you'd be remiss, you'd be a fool not to read the last few psukim, which speak about Aaron lighting the menorah, because Aaron is a kohen. The ness of Chanukah happened through kohenim, Aidei koyanecha kedoshim, the Chashmonaim. And fakat, the miracle was connected to the menorah, not to the mizbeach. So it makes complete sense that you read the last few psukim, the first few psukim, at the end of the Kriyas HaTorah, on the 8th day of Chanukah, because Chanukah is a Chanukah connected to kohenim and to the menorah. This is Pashat Pshat. But there's more. What's the more? Hashem tells Moshe to tell Aaron that what Kohanim do is more than Leviim do. Why? Than regular Yidden do. Why? They brought a bunch of animals. They brought gold, and they brought silver, and they brought keteiros, and they brought mincha, and they brought I don't know how many. Every day they brought a chatos, and they brought so many oilis. They brought onashir matanis, Aaron's lighting the Meneda. Why is Aaron's lighting the Meneda greater than the Karbonos that the Nesiim brought for Chanukah's Beis HaMikdash? Now I want to add something which is ironic and frequently overlooked. They brought Ketedus every day, right? Kaf achas asoda zav malaya Ketedus. They brought Ketedus every day. Where was that Ketedus placed? You know? On the outer Mizbeach. It wasn't placed inside. It was a curtain. It wasn't Ketedus. Now understand, the first day, Nachshon Rabbi Nadav brought Ketedus in the outer Mizbeach. You know what day that was? It was Aleph Nisan. You know what else happened that day? Come on. Nadav and Avihu brought Ketedus and died for it. People don't associate it. Nadav and Avihu brought Ketedus the same day that Nachshon Rabbi Nadav offered up Ketedus Nedava. He wasn't even asked. There's no such thing as Ketedus Nedava. It was put on the Adam Mizbeach. Everyone says to Nachshon Rabbi Nadav, thank you very much. He didn't die. Nadav and Avihu the same day brought Ketedus and they died. So there's details to the story which make it very dramatic. How come Nachshon Rabbi Nadav was allowed to bring Ketedus? How come he wasn't killed? How come Nadav and Avihu were killed? I'm not answering the question. I'm just pointing out how involved this story is. It's an involved story. No. Because I don't want to. And I'm still the teacher. I'm still in charge. Until the principal tells me what to do. So wait. So here's a kasha. Aaron is lighting the Meneda. The Nesiim are bringing an enormous volume of karbonos, including Ketedus and Adam Mizbeach, for which they were given Ayasha Koyach on the same day that other people died for bringing the same matana. By the way, if you ever learned Chumash, and I know most people don't learn Chumash when they learn Chumash, they're not paying attention. But if you look in the Chumash, in the Pentateuch, in the 5 books of Moses, Nadav and Avihu did not die for bringing Ketedus. That's not what it says. They died for bringing Eish Zorah, a bad fire. And that's as much as I'm going to say on this subject. So how come Aaron's lighting the Meneda is more than the karbonos that the Nesiim brought on the 12 days from Achei Temimim to his Beis Nisan? So Rabbi said the simple answer to the question is this. The Meneda is brought inside the Beis HaMikdash. The Meneda burns very peacefully, very beautifully. The Mizbeach is outside the Beis HaMikdash. The Mizbeach is a big war, right? You have fresh meat and wood burning. The fire has to dry the meat out and consume it. The water inside the meat and even the water inside the wood is screaming, stop burning me, I want to be. So you have a fight between water and fire. The outer Mizbeach was a dynamic, dramatic place where you witnessed a war between chamimus, heat, which represents alakus, and moisture, which represents taiva, and eventually the heat wins, the moisture dries up, and the karbonos are consumed. Meneda there's no fight, shash still. So in Chassidus, Karban is brought on the outer Mizbeach or Mulchome, Nefshalakis, Nefshabamis. Karban is brought on the inner Mizbeach, and on the Meneda is only Nefshalakis. There's no gates of heart, no Nefshabamis. And that's the simple tenets. The simple answer to the question, why is the gift of Aaron greater than the gift of the Nesiim? Because even the Ketedus that the Nesiim brought was placed outside. Even the Ketedus that the Nesiim brought was on a madrega of a Mulchome. It wasn't peace. Aaron is lighting the Meneda is inside, the Meneda is a place of peace, meaning to say, most of us have a Yetzer Hara, right? You don't start dealing with the Yetzer Tev exclusively until the Yetzer Hara is dead. So the Nesiim brought Karbonos, which represents a fight between the Yetzer Tev and the Yetzer Hara. Aaron lights up the Meneda, which is talking about a space where there's no Yetzer Hara, there's only a Yetzer Tev. This is why Aaron starts where they finish. Everything they give, including Ketedus, is on the outside, where there's a place of Mulchama, and Aaron is inside. So therefore, Hashem tells Moshe Rabbeinu, tell Aaron Achei Temimim, your gift is greater than their gift. This is the Pashat Pshat. This is the Pashat Pshat, okay? This is the Pashat Pshat. But there's a deeper pshat. And this deeper pshat is, everybody talks about it. This is, Lubavitch doesn't have exclusive rights to this. All the Arsharim talk about it, the Rebbe spoke about it many times. It's brought memory Chassidus. And the source of it is a Ramban. A Ramban in Pashas Ba'aleischa, a Ramban in Chumash. Hashem tells Moshe Rabbeinu, tell Aaron Achei, Shalacho Gedei L'Mishalahem, your gift is greater than their gift because you're lighting up the menorah and they're only bringing karbanos on the outer mizbeach. So on this statement of Chazal, that Hashem tells Moshe Rabbeinu to tell Aaron HaKohen that the gift of the menorah is greater than the gift of the karbanos, so it says in Medrash, on these words, it says in Medrash, you have to stop moving around, okay? These candles never go out. These candles never go out. Azay steht in Medrash. Ask me a question. The Beis Mikdash was destroyed. Just like there's no more Mizbeach because the Beis Mikdash is destroyed. There's no more Menorah because the Beis Mikdash was destroyed. So how could the Medrash say that Aaron HaKohen's gift is greater than the gift of the Nesiim? Because he lights the menorah inside. They brought the karbonos and the potatoes outside. And his candles burn forever. They don't burn forever. So the Ramban comes up with a radical chiddush. It's a Ramban Zarish, but it's a wilde chiddush. The Ramban says when Hashem told Moshe Rabbeinu to tell Aaron HaKohen that he is greater than the Nesiim, because he's lighting up the menorah, he didn't mean the menorah in the Beis HaMikdash, he meant the Chanukah licht. The Chanukah licht. It doesn't mean the candles that Aaron burned. It means the candles that's burned in the Chusala, the Chanukah licht. In other words, there's a whole other conversation. Aaron HaKohen is complaining, I missed out on Chanukah's HaMishkan. I missed out on inaugurating the Mishkan. Hashem says you're going to wait a while. A while means 1,200 years. Your descendants are going to be mechanech the Beis HaMikdash again. And that Chanukah is not going to be connected to karbonos. It's going to be connected to a menorah. The menorah, which is going to be associated with the Chanukah's Beis HaMikdash, which is going to be done dafke by Kohanim, not by the 12 Shvatim, is greater than the Chanukah done by the 12 Shvatim, because it never stops. So in other words, it's not Hashem saying to Aaron, okay, you missed that at the Chanukah, but you'll do menorah. No. He said, you missed that at this Chanukah, you're going to have a different Chanukah. You missed out the Chanukah Samizbeach in the times of Moshe Rabbeinu in the Mishkan. You're going to be Mechanech the Beis HaMikdash in the time of Chanukah, in the time of Hayesheni. The Kohanim cleaned up the Beis HaMikdash. The Kohanim were Mechanech the Beis HaMikdash. And the symbol of that Chanukah was not karbonos, it was the menorah. Not the menorah that they burnt inside the Beis HaMikdash, the menorah that every Jew lights by his door. That doesn't have 7 lights, but has 8 lights. That's not lit on the right side, it's lit on the left side. It's not lit when it's day, it's lit after dark. And so on. So this is what they says to Aaron HaKohen. So when you read the last 4 psukim of the Kriyas HaTeira of Zeis Chanukah, which is next Monday, Ba'aleis Chas HaNeiros doesn't mean the menorah in the Beis HaMikdash, it means the menorah you and I light. We're not Kohanim. But we light a menorah with 8 candles. These 8 candles are the schus of the Chashmonaim. This was their Chanukah, this was their Chanukah. And their Chanukah is greater than the Chanukah of the Yidden originally, because even in Golus we still have the menorah. We don't have the Beis HaMikdash, but we have Chanukah. We don't have the house, but we have the Chanukah. We're renewing the Beis HaMikdash that doesn't even exist, because we're lighting the candles. So the Ramban takes this medrash, right? It says in Rashi that Hashem tells Moshe Rabbeinu to tell Aaron, don't feel bad, what you're doing is greater than what they're doing. On this, the Medrash says that the candles never go out. And on this, the Ramban says, we don't mean the candles of the menorah in the Beis HaMikdash, we mean Chanukah. Rabbi said, this leads us to a fantastic pshat in a really strange minik Chabad. I mean, what do you know about Lubavitch? You've been born and bred, right? You're brainwashed, drank the Kool-Aid, whatever it is. You know about Lubavitch that every chance they get, they're different than everybody else. It's so funny. It's mamish hysterical. We have our own meaning about everything, and we're different than the whole world. And when it comes to Chanukah, it's weird sheba weird. It's odd sheba odd. It's so ironic. Why? Nobody is into public menorahs except us. Who's lighting menorahs in the street? Who's lighting menorahs on the outside? Who's a Dafka Lubavitch, right? And our own personal menorah is inside the house. Where does your menorah belong? Up here, Aloha? It belongs in the street. I've never been to Yerushalayim, but I've heard from people that Yerushalayim didn't have out of their house with little glass cases, with little metal case with glass. They literally light the menorah on the street. Where you're supposed to be alocha, Pesach, Beis Mibachotz. Lubavitchers don't light it on the outside, inside the house. And if you live in an apartment building on the second floor, the third floor, where are you supposed to put it? In the windows. In the window. People should see. Lubavitch is lighting inside the house. Now you tell me how that works. The movement that's all about Pesum Nisa, when it comes to our personal mitzvah, we do zero Pesum Nisa. Doesn't that bother you? It bothers me. What's the tennis to the kasha? How come? The answer is because since everybody else does it like I said in the Shulchan Aruch, we got to do different than the Shulchan Aruch. Why? Otherwise, how would it be Chabad? Everybody else puts it by the door to the street or by the window. I mean, in America, nobody puts it really outside the house, but you put it most unless you live very high up, that's above 20 amas. They put it by the window. That's the din. If you live on the second floor, even the third floor of an apartment building, it's below 20 amas. 20 amas is over 30 feet. You're supposed to put it by the window. People on the street should see it. Why don't we? And I want you to know there really is not a good teretz to the kasha. It's really, really hard to understand why Minhag Chabad is not to put the beneder that we year to the mitzvah on in a place where people other than our own family could see it, even though we're so into Pesum Nisa. But here is the answer. Here's the answer. Now, I didn't make this up. I heard it. I don't remember from whom I heard it. And I don't remember whether it's in the name of the rebbe or not. But the answer is it's a very, very, very geschmack answer. Chanukah Licht's trademark is what? Chanukah Licht's trademark is what? I'll tell you what. Chanukah Licht's trademark is it never goes out. Never. In the concentration camps, they lit the menorah. In Soviet gulags, they lit the menorah. I remember a Yid, unfortunately you didn't know him. If you knew some of the chassidim that I knew, I saw only Lester from the Free Gedor. One of the few elder chassidim that I knew was a chassid by the name of Asher Sasonkin. I think there's a Sasonkin in the class, yeah? Asher, but is there a Sasonko? But her Zayde was a Asher Sasonkin. Asher Sasonkin had a story that when he was in Siberia, he made a person from. And this person made from the side to light a menorah. In Siberia, the barracks were made of wood. The worst crime was lighting a fire in the barracks. For lighting a fire in the barracks, they could literally shoot you. And he lit the menorah. Asher didn't. He did. Anyway, it was the fifth night of Chanukah. Asher and this Meshuggah Balchova, as I was saying, Hamlet and Gan Eden, I don't know if he's alive or not, were in the back of the barracks with the fire. All the goyim were so shocked because they knew that he'd get shot for this. They were standing around. Then a Chanukah walks in the front door, walks through the whole barracks, walks through all the people, walks up to this menorah. It was made of potato skins, you understand? It wasn't exactly like ours. And he says in Russian, Adin, dva, tri, ch'tiri, pya, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And he turns to this Balchov and says, Pyat! In Russian, 5! He says, 5! And he walks out. And there were no repercussions. I heard this story from Asher many times. He witnessed it. This Nachali should have shot him. Should have killed him. He counts 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He says in Russian, 5! He says 5! And that's it. Yidden have lit the menorah always. And here's what it says in Shulchan Aruch. You're supposed to put the menorah by your door. And if it's a sakona, what do? Manichei ala shulchan v'daya. Just put it on the table. In other words, the trademark of the Chanukah Licht, more than the trademark of the Chanukah Licht that it should be in the street, the trademark of the Chanukah Licht is that the candles never go out. Everybody thinks of the Chanukah Licht, and we do. As Pesum Nisa, you light them in the street, the world should see it. But even deeper and higher than the idea of the Chanukah Licht the Chanukah being in the street is the idea that the candles never go out. You know what represents the candles never going out? Hiding them. That's why we have the menorah inside. We burn our menorah inside. And again, I heard it from somebody. I didn't make this up, but I forgot from whom, and I forgot whether it said it in the name of the rebbe or not. It's a moed in the kavod. We light the menorah inside to say, yes, one level of this mitzvah is that you have to show it to the world. And the second level of this mitzvah is this fire is never extinguished. And if you need to, you hide it inside. So Lubavitchers go out on Mivtzoyim, they light a menorah in the street, and then they come home, or before, or after, and they light a menorah in the house. It's a statement that says these candles never go out. That's Chanukah. The Chanukah candles never go out. Never go out. They're forever. And the way it plays out, Rabbi Yossi, girls, the way it plays out in the real world is this. There are many Jews in the world that don't do too many mitzvahs. You don't need me to tell you that, right? What is the most likely mitzvah for a Jew to do? I don't blame you for not knowing, but the most likely mitzvah for a Jew to do, I'll give you a hint, it's the mitzvah that makes the least sense. Bris Milah. More Jews do a bris than any other mitzvah. Now, many of them use doctors and do it in the hospital. They don't do it on the 8th day. But somehow Jews know you got to make a bris, even if you don't do anything. Bris is the most popular mitzvah, and this is how nuts Jews are. You know, I'm not religious, but the most invasive, mutilate. They call it mutilation. More Yidden do bris than any other mitzvah. You want proof that Jews are crazy? This is the proof. More than Yom Kippur. Are you kidding? Much more. Then after Bris Milah, it's a machlokes. Some will tell you it's the temple for the Yom Neroim. Some will tell you the Pesach, and some will tell you Chanukah. Why? Of all the mitzvahs, the Torah, the mitzvah Jews are more. There are Jews who lie them and who don't eat matzah Pesach, who don't go to temple Shani Yom Kippur. Of course, like everything else, there's an answer b'pashtus. What's the answer b'pashtus? Because the guy has his tree. And it's very hard to have little kids who are going to a public school, to a private Catholic school, but everybody else has a tree, and they're visited by the uncle with the long white beard. He puts gifts, and what are we? We're never chvesach. There's only one God and we don't believe in him. I'm sure you've heard that word before, yeah. So a yid belas b'neida has to make a b'neida. But that's not the reason. The reason is because the light of the b'neida never goes out. And when you say that the light of the b'neida never goes out, you don't mean the light of the b'neida never goes out of sitting on your table. It never goes out of the Jewish heart. I remember 2 years ago or 3 years ago, I was in the other building. A girl came to class with her phone, and she had a WhatsApp. You know, today to make a poster is nothing, right? You can choose the paper, and you can choose the font, and you can choose the layout, and you can choose the pictures. In 2 seconds, you can make. So some guy put on his Facebook page a whole page, like a statement. The statement was, "I love the Jewish religion. It's the only religion where I am an atheist and I'm still Jewish." This was the whole page. I'm an atheist and still Jewish. So one of the girls brought this to class and she showed it to me. I immediately sent it to the whole school, as best as I can with all my incredible capabilities on the telephone. And then I gave it an hour, I gave her bringing on it. You tell me what kind of atheist cares about being Jewish?
You're a Jewish one.
Because he's not. A Jewish atheist is an oxymoron. If you're an atheist, then the Judaism has no meaning. If Jew has a meaning, you're not an atheist. How do you work that out? Oh, I'm an atheist, but don't you mess with my Judaism, right? How does that work? They work it out. Right? People are all very interesting. We do that too. It's ironic. It's contradictory. The two don't go together. And when you'll talk to them about it, they'll drey a cup and drey. They don't want to answer the question, because answering you means answering themselves. Answering themselves means because they don't want to admit, as they say in the real world, blah, 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 blah. But you get the point. The point is a yid lights a meneder because he's a yid. And it touches him as a chiddush b'nefesh. He Baruch Hashem. You know, one of the great things, you could be an atheist, put on film, not a contradiction. No one ever said atheists can't put on film. No one ever said atheists can't light the meneder. And it means something to him. He runs around screaming that there's no God. I once saw an article. Also, one of the girls brought this in, and they made a whole fabrengen out of that also. A girl brought in an article. It goes around every year. It comes around every year. It's been maybe 10 years ago. A guy wrote an article about how he's raising a daughter, and he makes Chanukah for her. He says, and I recently discovered that in the time, the way the Reform paint the Chanukah story, in their wonderful self-love, is they make it Jew on Jew. When we tell the Chanukah story, it's a Yidden against the Greeks, Goyim. In the Reform and the conservative temple, they love to say it was a Jew against the Jew. There were the modern Jews, and then there were the old-fashioned Jews. And the modern Jews were Hellenized, and the old-fashioned Jews were traditional. That's how they paint the picture. The traditional Jews won. So this guy says, wait a minute, why am I celebrating Chanukah? If I would have been arrived, then I would have been the enemy. His Reform rabbi told him that it was a fight like a Jew against a Jew. Why did the Reform rabbi tell him? Because the Reform rabbi is a donkey who has less self-respect than a shattered piece of glass. So can't make it the way, just pushing history. It's a fight of Jew on Jew. This guy believed this Reform rabbi because he went to university and he speaks a good English, has a nice tie, and he spent a lot of time doing nothing. So he said, he said, I don't understand, why am I celebrating Chanukah? I'm one of the enemies. And he finishes the article with the words, as long as Santa doesn't win. That's how he finishes his article. As long as Santa doesn't win. So many kids show. This article's been around for a while now. It shows up every year. Again, someone will find it, but what's taking the tennis to the kasha? When a Yid understands that the story of Chanukah is a religious war, and he's a Hellenist, and he's on the other side, why is he? And he knows it. Why is he lighting the menorah? Because he's not on the other side. He's working on it. He's trying very hard to be an applicatus. It's not so easy. You need God to be a Jewish atheist. You need Hashem's help. Without it, it's not going to happen. This is the pshat that the Ramban explains the Medrash. Goes on Chanukah licht. And this explains our meaning. I think it's a good pshat. We dafke light the menorah inside because the big idea of Chanukah is al Pesach Beis Mebechutz. The deep idea of Chanukah is Einem B'Ten Leilam. So we do the Miftsoyim al Pesach Beis Mebechutz. That's the Koch. And our own personal minig is Manicha El Shulchan V'Daye to argue, to assert these candles never go out. Okay, you gotta admit this wasn't such a bad waste of time, yeah? L'chaim v'levrach, I'll see you in the